KSI knocks out Joe Fournier in the second round, but should this fight have actually counted? What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Stay Waiting YouTube channel. My name is Abbas and I'm here to break down what we saw yesterday in London in the Misfits card featuring KSI and Joe Fournier. So let's get straight into it. KSI beats Joe Fournier in the second round, and what initially looked like a really good knockout on the replay was basically an elbow that knocked out Joe Fournier. Before I go out and break down how this particular fight happened, I do need to talk about KSI. As a fighter, personally, I don't think he's improved too much. What you see with KSI is the fact that his cardio is sensational, the fact that he's always bouncing around when it comes to fights. But then when you watch him fight, it's just a very weird way of boxing, which is acceptable because of, again, it's an influencer showcase event. It's not going to be technically great. What I will say is he has a lot of power. Like when you look at this whole influencer, there is a lot of power that comes with KSI in terms of his punches compared to the other top attractions, you could say. But breaking down the fight itself, it was a 6-round, 3-minute fight. Both guys came out, and again, like I said, the unorthodox style of KSI, constantly bouncing around and stuff, you could tell that was putting off Joe Fournier. But then you had the finish, which, again, like I mentioned, being that KSI has a lot of power in his punches, he landed a very good overhand, and that kind of staggered Joe Fournier. But then the finish itself came from an elbow, but from the initial reaction, you thought that it was an excellent punch. If this was a fight, you'd look back and say there was possibly a disqualification here, and this fight shouldn't stand. But it does look like on the record books, it looks like a KSI second round victory. And to Joe Fournier's team and his credit, he could most easily look to want some form of rematch. Now, what was interesting is being that when you're a fighter, you would know yourself personally how you knock somebody out, and there was a lot of denial when it came to KSI, and the fact that he hit him with an elbow because he just kept alluding to the overhand, which in itself was a sensational punch, no doubt about it. But yeah, it was a knockout that shouldn't have stood personally. What followed there was Tommy Fury. Now, if you guys have been watching the channel, you know my opinions about Tommy. I'm not a fan, sorry. I don't think he's all that when it comes to a particular level. However, what he's able to do currently is find his niche, which, being that he's a Fury, comes with a big name, but he's essentially an influencer boxer. But under the tagline of a professional level boxer, because he has the skill set of a professional level, but at a very low level, and where he's able to exploit it is through the new influencer boxing and make a lot more money than he would do just going down the traditional journeyman route. And what you now have is Tommy and KSI setting up a fight. And again, I'm kind of here for it. Like, I don't mind it too much. We've seen Tommy go against Jake, and you can see, as much as I believe Jake could be able to beat him, you can see the difference to a point where a professional fighter who's had an amateur background versus someone who's come into this scene as an influencer, as a YouTuber, Disney star, etc. You can see the difference, and I kind of see it similar this way. Now, what I'm also not against is the fact that we're not getting this KSI Jake Paul fight right now, being that should be the end all of influencer boxing to a point. Sorry, I'm happy for it to long itself out a little bit more. Similarly to how we have in normal boxing, where you have certain fights, here's another case of where we're waiting on the final chapter, you could say, and KSI and Jake Paul is that. But in the meantime, you've got Tommy, and I'm okay with Tommy fighting as long as, I guess, as long as we don't have it where we see Tommy as this boxing professional, etc. Because reality, his lane is this influencing scheme. Now, again, the pressure would all be on Tommy to deliver, and I personally think he can do. what I will say is throughout the rest of the card, credit to some of the guys on here. KSI's younger brother Deji looks significantly better. Got a decision victory, but I will say this: his like normal skill set is better than KSI's. And then you have Salt Poppy, who lost on the card. In terms of these particular fights as well, you can see that these guys are trying their best to improve, and that's the one thing I definitely give these guys credit for, is that they are trying to improve. And as much as the world outside of boxing looks at it as a joke and stuff, which certain fights are, like, do not get me wrong, there are certain fights that should just not be happening, and that's where the integrity of the sport is being ruined. But when you look at some of the other guys, they are putting on a show. They are trying to be able to better themselves, and realistically, they know themselves where their lane is, and as long as they stay in that lane, there's no harm for me personally. Like, I'm not against it. It brings in a different crowd, as we've alluded to, and anything, it brings in a crowd of, even you could say, traditional boxing fans, because if you look at the numbers these guys are able to do, yes, you have to have someone like KSI on there to be able to do these numbers. But if you're able to see what these guys are able to do, whether it be pay-per-view buys, viewing figures, ticket gates, etc., you look at boxing and you have to eye it up. And we always say the same thing: like, boxing fans are letting boxing down. As much as we talk about certain fighters need to make certain fights, it's the fans, unfortunately, to a certain point, that are just not interested, and we're letting the sport down. And again, I'm sitting here as somebody who loves boxing but doesn't mind this influencer boxing as well. So as a whole, again, Misfits itself, it's done what it's done, and it delivers. They can go, as long as KS has names, that they will sell out all the time, and that's a testament to the fan base that particularly draws in. As for real boxing, just to touch on Rolly Romero winning yesterday night again. As much as we criticize Simply Words Boxing, we have poor decisions here as well. There should be no way that Romero should be sitting here as a world champion, but due to poor refereeing, we have Rolly Romero as a world champion as well, and I just don't understand it at all. What I will say is, again, it's a PBC card. Having someone with his type of cachet, and what I mean by that is coming off a tank loss, having some kind of a name helps, I guess, to be able to get certain decisions in your favor at 140. But I will say this: if there's a fight between him and Ryan Garcia down the line, there's only one man you pick to win this, and that has to be Ryan Garcia. But overall, it was definitely, you could say, a more quieter Saturday in terms of the world of boxing, and that's not something that we have next week, where we do have Devin Haney versus Lomachenko, Chantel Cameron versus Katie Taylor, and we will be putting up some predictions and previews for both fights throughout this entire week, as well as our traditional review videos. So as always, if you are enjoying the content, you know what to do: drop a like, share, subscribe. As we always say, road to 1K is complete. We're on to the next move, which is road to 2,000. So again, if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button and let us know your comments about the Misfits card. Is that something that you do watch alongside normal boxing, or is it just something that you are completely against? As always, guys, like, share, subscribe, and peace.